From a giant anaconda to a hidden ancient civilization, here are 10 of the strangest things that have been discovered in Brazil. Number 10. Blue Lake Grotto. As the 5th largest country in the world, Brazil has a huge range of different environments and regions. One of the most awe-inspiring places that has ever been found there is known as the Gruta Do Lago Azul, or the Blue Lake Grotto. Hidden in the forest, the cave was discovered in 1924 by a member of the local Terena Indian tribe, and it's thought that no human had set foot in the place until then. It is part of one of the world's largest flooded cavities on the planet and stands out because of the incredibly clear blue water that shimmers in the sunlight that comes through a hole in the cave roof. Despite it being known about for almost a century, the cave hasn't been explored very much. It's thought to be about 200 feet deep with an underground river that feeds it with water, but the location of this water source has yet to be found. An expedition in 1992 found something pretty crazy at the bottom. Besides the stalagmites and stalactites, which probably formed over 500 million years ago, explorers found hundreds of prehistoric animal bones. Among the skeletons were a 3-meter-high giant sloth and a saber-toothed cat hundreds of thousands of years old. It is a very impressive ancient geological structure and probably holds many more secrets waiting to be uncovered. Number 9. Warty toads. In 2015, a research team were about to give up on their hunt for a new species in the cloud forest on Serra de Quiriri, a mountain near the Brazilian city of Paraná, but then they heard a curious croak. It was pitch black, but they soon tracked the noise to a frog. Turns out it was one of 3 new species of toad that they would end up discovering, and these ones were very bizarre. Known as warty toads, they are just over an inch long with distinct red coloring on their bellies along with white speckled warts all over their bodies. They are also thought to be poisonous like other amphibians in the area, a defense mechanism that they develop because of their local plant diet. DNA tests showed that these are relatively new species, having only evolved at some point in the past few thousand years, but they are already endangered. The cloud forests are particularly susceptible to changes in climate, and habitats are becoming inhospitable to the animals that live there. This is having an even more profound effect on the warty toads since they are so sensitive. They are described as being temperamental, impossible to catch if the weather is too wet or too dry, and they have an unusual method of procreation. Unlike most toads that lay their eggs in ponds and streams, these ones are phytotelm breeders, which means they lay eggs in the water that collects in plants. They depend on a very precise ecosystem, and if we aren't careful, other animals might disappear that we may not even know exist. Number 8. 794-pound emerald. Brazil has a well-established mining industry that searches for precious stones underground, but no discovery has been quite as amazing as one made in the Carnaíba region in 2017. The Bahia Mineral Cooperative had workers in a mine that was 656 feet below the surface, where they found a giant emerald. It was 4.3 feet long and weighed an incredible 794 pounds. There are a lot of articles that call it the 840-pound emerald, but that's not how much it weighs. That's an absolute giant as far as emeralds go, and is far bigger than would be useful for making jewelry or other ornate objects. Can you imagine wearing that thing? Instead, it was sold for an undisclosed fee to an anonymous buyer who's not quite sure what to do with it. He might sell it or display it, but he's trying to keep it quiet. This is the second such find in the region, with another emerald being found in 2001 that weighed only a fraction of this one, 44 pounds. In that instance, the emerald was valued at $310 million, so you can only imagine how much this more recent find was sold for. The owner has not revealed his identity or his location out of fear for his family's safety. Number 7. Giant tunnels. Giant tunnels might not sound like much, but not everything is as it seems. In 2017, researchers investigated a series of large, smooth tunnels that pass through the Brazilian landscape. People have known about them since at least the 1930s, and as you look along the walls, you can see gigantic claw marks. There are no geological processes that can make these structures, and it had long been thought that they were constructed by ancient civilizations to help them traverse the area. It turns out that it wasn't humans that dug out these large passages, but a large prehistoric creature, the megasloth. They aren't caves but burrows, and there are tons of them. In total, more than 1,500 of these paleo burrows have been found in the south of Brazil, some of which are 6 feet wide, 12 feet high, and up to 330 feet long. They are estimated to be between 8,000 and 10,000 years old. There have been a number of fossils found of these large creatures, but until recently, no one knew quite how they lived. While one of these burrows would likely have taken a megasloth most of its life to build, they may have been used by successive generations, each of which dug a little further into the ground to produce the long stretches that can be seen today. Number 6. The penis snake. New species are always being found in the Amazon, but perhaps none are as crazy looking as this one, which has become known as the penis snake. Engineers were busy building a dam, and after draining the Madeira River, they found a bunch of these snakes wallowing in the mud. Fossils had been discovered of this species before, and they were thought to have long died out. Technically, they aren't actually snakes at all, but an amphibian and much more similar to a salamander or a frog. It's completely blind, has no lungs, breathes through its skin, and feeds on a diet of mostly fish. There's no doubt that it bears a striking resemblance to a male appendage, which has led to other nicknames for it, such as anaconda and floppy snake. It's a very rare creature though, so you're unlikely to see one in the Amazon. If you do, it's best to handle it gently. Number 5. Megaliths. With the use of modern technology like drones and improved scanning techniques, it has become increasingly possible to search the Amazon from above and see the canopy of the rainforest from below. This has led to the discovery of new tribes and scores of ancient buildings. One discovery that has particularly excited researchers was at the Rio Grande archaeological site. It shows that there was a highly advanced human presence in the region more than 500 years before the European colonization of the Americas began. The structures here have become known as the Amazonian Stonehenge and bear a striking similarity to the structure built by the Druids in Britain. It consists of 27 massive blocks of granite, some of which are up to 13 feet tall and arranged in a circle of almost 100 feet in diameter. These megaliths are believed to have been designed as an astronomical observatory and show that civilizations had developed far more and far earlier than had previously been thought. Number 4. Glass frogs. Glass frogs are some of the most unique amphibians you'll see anywhere on Earth. They are about the size of a fingernail and are recognizable because of their transparent skin, hence the name glass frog, because you can see their internal organs. They were first discovered in 1872, and since then more than 151 different species have been described. Their eyes face forward, unlike most other frogs, and they are primarily lime green on their back. They have webbed fingers and can grow up to 3 inches long. Looking through the abdominal skin, you can clearly see their heart, liver, and intestinal tract. They live in freshwater areas of the Amazon, but unfortunately, as of 2004, they have been added to the list of critically endangered animals. As a result of farming and logging activity, it's thought that there are less than 5,000 left in the wild across South America. Number 3. Enormous anaconda. Brazilian builders always have to have their wits about them in case they encounter a dangerous animal, but workers on a site in Altamira couldn't have possibly taken precautions for what they were about to find. In 2016, they were building a hydroelectric dam complex on the Xingu River, which will become the 4th largest in the world. Following an explosion in a cave, they uncovered an enormous snake. The anaconda was 33 feet long, 3 feet in diameter, and weighed more than 881 pounds. This makes it 8 feet longer than the biggest snake in the world that is kept in captivity. It was so large that workers were forced to chain it to a crane to move it out of the way, and in the process revealed its yellow-colored belly. It's not entirely clear what happened to the snake after this, but it just goes to show the size of some animals that lurk in Brazil, and you never quite know what might be found next. Number 2. World's oldest pyramids. When you think of pyramids, you naturally think of the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, but a discovery in 1996 showed that the ancient Egyptians weren't the first to build such large structures. Discovered on the Atlantic coast of southern Brazil, a series of pyramids were found to date from 3000 BC, several hundred years before the earliest ones in Egypt. Unlike the Egyptian ones, though, these ones were made from seashells, so for a long time they were thought to be giant piles of waste that had been left behind by an ancient civilization. It's thought that the pyramids in Brazil were built for similar reasons, to bury the dead and other religious purposes, and some were up to 160 feet tall. Research suggests that there were once as many as 1,000 of these structures across the region, some of which were 5,000 years old, but because of the rudimentary building materials, less than 10% of them remain today. While the majority survived until the last century, the material was used for the construction of roads and buildings because at the time, people saw them as no more than rubble. Further research is revealing that similar to the pyramids in Mexico, these ones would have held buildings on top of them for ceremonial purposes, and they are by far the most ancient structures to have been built on the continent, predating those in Mexico by more than 3,000 years. Number 1. Two-headed bat. This is one of the craziest animals ever to be found in Brazil. In 2001, a set of conjoined twin bats were found underneath a mango tree in the Viana municipality of southeastern Brazil. They were already dead, thought to have either been stillborn or not able to survive after birth because they were still attached to a placenta, and they were preserved in a jar of ethanol to enable further study. As you can see from the images, the bats share 2 forelimbs and 2 hind limbs, just like a regular bat, but they have individual spines that meet at the bottom. They both had their own hearts but only had one set of sex organs between them. This was only the 3rd time that a pair of conjoined bats has ever been recorded, even though they are routinely studied because of their varied habitats. For comparison, it's thought that in humans, the abnormality happens in 1 every 200,000 births in the US and as many as 1 every 2,800 in India. Thanks for watching! Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye!